to it because that was very important. But we did finish the M phase very clearly, which was mitosis or meiosis. And then, of course, along with that, if you follow the meiosis from this full cell cycle, then you have something called gametogenesis, which is the cell cycle of sex cells. So a lot of times you guys are getting a little confused. Is there two interfaces for sex cells? No, there's only one. Okay? Because after you do meiosis 1, you go directly into meiosis 2. There's no such thing as interface. But you understand that. Some of the things that I've been seeing in your quizzes, which is very scary. Hopefully you really recovered. Those quizzes still count, remember. So, gametogenesis. We looked at it specifically for what? Spermatogenesis. Remember, when we say full description, what does it mean? Also, not only are you describing each of the phases, but you're also telling me what temperature they require, when they start and when they finish, is what we were talking about as those full descriptions. Along with what? Nuclear content, which means that you have to tell me that they're haploid, diploids, or replicate diploids, all that other fun stuff. And then, of course, oogenesis. And then we put together the gametes, and then we did what? Development. And development was divided into a zygote, an embryo. And then, of course, with the embryo, we elaborated on this, and we said it was called embryogenesis. And then we did the fetal stage, and then the neonatal stage. And we said the neonate is the beginning of a complex organism, and therefore we gave you examples of complex organism. And what was that complex organism that we gave you an example of? It was called a man. And we said man is categorized against all the other animals in a table known as taxonomy. And it starts from what? A domain. Then it is kingdom. Then a phylum. Then what?
Class.
No. Class. Order. Family. Genus. And species. And you knew the mnemonic King Philip came over for good sex. Right? Everybody understand that? So, you had to know those things, which gives us our time point today. So, as we know that even man has a lot of diversity. How do we know this? Not two of them same. How many people in the world currently? 1.9 billion.
No.
7.
Really?
That's
7 billion plus people exist today. It was 7 billion people when? 2 years ago. Now we're more than 7 billion. How many people can Earth really support as a whole? It's currently estimated what? 10 billion.
10 million?
Yeah. When do we reach 10 billion? In the next
2025.
3 years. After that, what? Not enough food in the world. Not enough room in the world. Which means?
We kill people off.
We kill people off, and we call those things war. Fun times are coming. So, you have to understand what man is. So what gave us that diversity? What gave us that ability to do what? Expand in the universe. Yes?
Is it survival of the fittest?
It's the survival of the fittest. Are we really fit? No. What's our problem?
Wendy's.
It's compassion. She said Wendy's. It's a good thing. Every time you buy Wendy's, remember, proceeds are donated to the Children's Hospital. It's always nice.
McDonald's.
McDonald's got the Ronald McDonald House. The only thing that doesn't have a donation is Burger King and White Castles.
Burger King has the best burgers, so I guess it doesn't matter.
Not the Five Guys?
That's a killer.
You should open up the store next to it and say the sixth guy. But anyway, getting back to the topic here. What gave us all this diversity? It is what we call what? Genetics. It's all about genes and control over that gene. Remember, we're not the fittest organism in the world, but the reason why we are so available to everybody is because, again, that compassion thing is the rule. Remember, if you have a dog that was just born and he is, what? Has a heart murmur. Does a dog go out and say, I need to take my little pup to the hospital and say he needs a heart valve transplant or fixing? No. All the other animals will do what? They'll smell them and they will already know that they have a disease. A lot of dogs can smell disease. And hence the reason why they're practicing a funny thing these days. They're bringing dogs into
Sniff cancer.
sniff cancer out. Because you are switching what? Proteins around and you are emitting a different type of smells. So yes, they can smell these things. And then what do? They abandon you. And then you're supposed to die on your own. So think about it. That's the difference between humans. What's wrong with us? We keep fixing people that are destined to die. And then you say, everybody does. Yes, but early death versus, and it's one of those genes that's making us do this. So, genes, when did it first start being understood? Remember, what caused us in the beginning? As I said to you before, a long, long time ago, 200 years ago, when you came to this room, Allah, you would not be here. But some universities do exist in New York. And what did they teach you in biology? How were you born? They said you were the what? Your mother gave you the egg, and your father gave you what? The spermato what? Not the sperm. Spermatozoa. What's the difference between a sperm and a spermatozoa? Spermatozoa is an animal, which means it moves. Sperms do not move necessarily. So what's a sperm? Pollen is a sperm. Everybody understand that? So, it's a spermatozoa. So what was this concept of the ovum and the spermatozoa? What are they telling you in the 18th? What year is this? Year 2000. So 1812.
Just the first sperm that makes it there,
So remember, when we were writing the what? The poem that's called the Star-Spangled Banner, 1812. That's what they were teaching in class, in college. So it's not really that they're really in the Stone Ages, are they? These people. We had what? Big cannons in, big ships, and we're blowing each other apart. Remember, this is the reason why the White House is called the White House. The White House was never called the White House. It was actually a brown house. And then they burned it to the ground, and then so what we say? Paid your what? It never happened. Hence, it's called the White House now. Putting things in perspective. What did they know? We knew how to skewer a man several thousand ways. That's why we build weapons for these things. What did they know about you? That's it. They said what? An ovum is a what? It's an egg. So therefore it is food. When you're hungry, what do?
Eat.
You eat what? An egg. Do you know? In the morning, you eat an egg. Food. What is this guy? If you blow up the head, what do you see?
Balloon.
Sorry. Okay.
It always happens after an exam. It's a normal reaction. What is this little guy? He's known as the what? No, he's known as the homunculus. What does homunculus mean? It means little man. So what did the little man do?
Ate the food.
Ate the food. And then what happened to him?
He grew.
He grew. Until?
He was a boy.
Until? Or she. He or she, doesn't matter. Even though we say man. What happened? Until that person was big enough to be delivered and you were out. Because you ran out of mother's food. She couldn't keep you anymore. 1830s. Until the 1850s, that's what they told you. Is it true? You look at it now and say, what? How many years ago is this? Less than 200 years ago. Think about this craziness. Hence the reason why they had no idea about what? How to treat you. So hence, when did you die?
Early.
How early? You were dead. Average life ended around where? 40s. Unless you were ultra rich. You died early. So therefore you didn't go to college. Why? Because by the time you went to college and you graduated, what did they teach you in the first place? That kind of nonsense. And then they said what else? By the time you graduated, you were almost dead. So therefore no one went to class. Unless you were ultra rich and you knew that sometimes if you eat well, and you take care of what? What caused the length to go up? There's a simple thing called brushing your teeth. These people died early because of they never brushed their teeth. They didn't have the ability to do so. Why? Because there was no such thing as a toothpaste or toothbrush. Only the who had it? Only the ultra rich had it. So if you ever see them smile, do you ever see them smile?
No.
Even the ultra rich, what do? They cover themselves all the time. Why? Because their teeth is really disgustingly rotting away. So every single time you fantasize about these Cinderella stories and their big balls, it is a disgusting place to be. Why? Because most of them have lice. On top of them they have bed bugs. What else do they have? Bad breath. And their teeth are rotting away. And you called it incredibly golden era, which is rather interesting. But this whole concept, that's what they knew. So, who started this concept of genetics? As the founder of modern genetics, yeah. Yeah, it's a guy named Mendel. And of course they always tell you what? Like it means a whole lot. They always tell you what? Mendel was a sure you do. He's an Austrian what?
Was he priest?
Yeah, he was a monk. Why was he a monk?
I have massive hands with massive muscle in my hands. I can write for hours, unlike you me with the hands.
So, the monk, because I'm doing the Austrian accent. don't like my Austrian accent?